Hi guys, welcome to this week's video. This week we're doing something a little bit different and I'm going to be showing you the new look for Zoho CRM. So I shared a couple of months ago now on LinkedIn that Zoho had kind of leaked accidentally their new look for the CRM. Well, we're a couple of months forward now and actually I've now got access to this new look. So I'm going to take you through it today and I want to take you back over some of the new features you can expect as part of this redesign to the CRM. So if you take a look at my screen now, you'll see I'm in the current version of the CRM. You can see I've got my tabs along the top and you're all pretty used to seeing this, I would suspect. I'm going to hit on my profile button and you'll see I've now got try new version. Now this won't show up for everybody. If you've requested access, you may well see this and I think it's going to be rolling out to more people as the months go on. When I hit try new version, you will see straight away a very, very different looking application. So the top bar is completely gone and replaced by these new side columns. Now, these side columns help you to split things up. So we've got our top level modules folder. We've then got our reports or our dashboards. We've got requests, which I'll talk about in a little while. We've got marketplace and we've got our search. I think the search for me is going to be the biggest thing to get used to, not having the search up in the top right anymore, having it down on the left sidebar. I think is going to take a lot of sort of like retraining my muscle memory to remember to go there. So some of that's going to just take time to get used to, as with any change. Now, if we go back into modules, you can see I can click through my modules. Within the modules themselves, they look as they do currently in the CRM. They're pretty similar. There are some updates in here, but you'll recognize these from the main CRM. For example, we've got this interactions timeline now, although that has been rolling out on the current CRM interface as well. Unfortunately, all of these, there we go, here's an example. So you can see this interactions timeline. Now, one of the things I really like about this redesign is that we've now got folders. So, for example, our activities modules, they used to just be in a module called activities years ago on the CRM, and then Zoho split them out. But we can now actually put those together into a folder. So we can have tasks, meetings, and calls all grouped together, not taking a load of space if we want to. This CRM here is just a demo system, so there's not a huge amount of different modules in here, but some of the more complex systems that I work with with my clients, we can end up with having quite a lot of different modules in the system and it becomes quite overwhelming. And I think these folders are going to become a really good way to group things together. But Zoho's also given us a whole new thing to think about in the CRM. So up until now, when we create a new module, a module being one of these tabs on the side here, that module is created for everybody and we just can allow and disallow access to certain people. Well, Zoho's now introduced this concept of spaces. So we've now got these team spaces. So by default, you'll get like a CRM team space, and that's kind of what you've got currently in the CRM. But then you can also create additional team spaces. And the idea of these team spaces is kind of an evolution on tab groups in the current layout. So the current layout allows you to create a little drop down of different groups of tabs. So you could have like a marketing group, so you can just show the marketing tabs. This is kind of an evolution on this. So you can see as I switch between my two teams here, the modules available change. But Zoho's taken this a step further and now actually allows me to create just team-specific modules. So I can create a module that's only available to the marketing team. And one of the reasons Zoho's doing this, and in a lot of their press and a lot of the information they've put out there, is they kind of are trying to take a step into the sort of Trello realm or the project management realm and be able to bring in some of those outside processes into Zoho. And you can see that when I go to create a team module, it's got a load of templates in here for things that traditionally you might not think of doing in the CRM. So for example, the case study template I've gone in and set up here. And, for all intents and purposes, they're just custom modules in the CRM. But Zoho's now, as I say, adding those templates and kind of making you think a little bit differently about how the CRM should fit together. Now, one of the things I'm a little bit unclear on right now, and I'll need to do some more digging on this, is what happens with these team modules if you change your mind and you want them to be accessible to everybody. For example, case studies we've created as a team module in marketing. But in the future, it might be that actually I also want that module to be available to the sales team because they might be contributing details. So there's a little bit more investigation needed there. Now, along the side, as I said, we've also got this new concept of requests, and this is a bit of a confusing one. So requests are a way for you within these custom modules to effectively put out a requirement for work. And I'm just going to show you this now in Zoho's own release. My test system only has one user, so it's a little bit limited how it sort of looks and feels. So here's an example of the requests here. So they've got a load of custom modules, and then they've effectively linked actions in those custom modules to this individual, and they've shown up in their My Request section, which shows up here on the sidebar. Now, what I'm not quite clear on yet, and again, I think I probably need to do some more digging myself, is how does this differ from what we're doing currently with tasks? Because the kind of things we've got in here, I would think of them as tasks. These are things you need to do, and they're actions that need to be completed. So I think that's going to be an interesting one as I start using this new CRM more, is to get a better feel for where do I use the new requests feature versus where do I use the tasks feature. And there's things like that throughout the CRM. So, for example, we've now got the ability to create, as I say, these organizational or team modules. So, it's going to be some new thinking around, well, where do I do a team module versus where do I do an organization module? Now, there's also been a lot of other sort of tweaks and changes across the board. So, for example, now if I go back into my main workspace, if I mouse over a module and hit the three little dots, I've now got quick access to all the sort of different customization that I can do with that module. As you'd expect, this is based on a user's access. Now, this is, for me, highlighting the need to make sure we don't have too many people as admins. So right now, particularly in smaller systems with clients that I've got, we may default to pretty much everyone being admin because it may only be 2, 3 or 4 people in the system. So we don't think too much about those permissions at that scale because it's not as relevant. But actually now, when we're putting the ability for people to make quite complex customizations straight into the CRM without potentially realizing the repercussions, I think it's going to making sure those permission setups are correct even more important. And you can see you can do workflow rules, blueprints, approval process, everything straight from the home screen. Now, talking of settings itself has also been redesigned somewhat. This is a bit for me that I am not particularly keen on the redesign. So if you're used to the Zoho CRM settings, you'll know there's a lot of options. And previously, when you hit the settings button, it would open it in a page and you'd get groups of all of the different options. In fact, if I go into edit here, you can see what that used to look like. However, this has now been changed. So this is now just a way of reordering what your settings are. But the actual settings interface itself is this very, very long scrolling bar. And I just think it's not the best navigation in the world. I mean, sure, you've got the search in there, but personally, I preferred having that splash screen with everything laid out nicely. You can see in here, you've got those new team spaces. So you can see I've got my marketing, I've got my CRM team space. If I go in here, I'll show you how it looks. So you can see I've got what modules are available. I can add new modules. Or I can create folders, and then once I've done that, I can drag things into the folders, which is quite nice. I can enable or disable reports and dashboards, and then I can also select who has access to that team space. So it's worth noting somebody can be a part of multiple team spaces. So it may well be that actually your team spaces, everyone kind of has access to all of the team spaces, but their default may be for the marketing team, their default will be in marketing, the sales team, their default will be the sales space, but they can switch back and forth if they want. So there's lots of tweaks and changes in here to think about how it works in the CRM going forward. So just running through the press release from Zoho. So there's a bit more information here around pricing and what's included. So most customers I work with are either on Zoho One or on Enterprise. So you can see you've got quite a lot of team modules included. So Zoho One, you get 50 team modules plus 5 for every user license, up to a maximum of 500 modules. So I think that'll be more than enough for pretty much everyone I know. Even at Enterprise, you can have a maximum of 200. So I think that's going to be more than enough. I'm quite impressed actually that Standard's been included. Sometimes Standard is left out of these new features, but Standard also gets 10 of these team modules as well, which is great to see. Just continuing down, there's some information about some new bits in here around public fields. Some more information about the redesign. So a couple of bits I didn't cover in here. You can hide and show that sidebar if you want. It's got a bit more information about the various different changes you've got. And then it also calls out a couple of these features are also live in the main CRM. So charts is one of them. So I'll give you a quick look at that. So if we go into our module now and go into the view options, you've got list and Kanban, which have always been there, but we've now got this chart view. And this allows us to very quickly create charts based on what's happening in the system. So if we do by month, this will then show us how many leads have been created by month. It's not a great example in this case because we've not got a great deal of different data in here. Let's see if we've got any lead sources in here. There we go. So we can see our lead sources and where they're coming from. And there's loads of different ways we can do it. It's just a nice way to quickly visualize the data in your CRM. Now, the reality is I would expect if you're doing this and you want to see this report regularly, I'd expect you to either be using the report/analytics tabs or to be using Zoho Analytics and having a full-on sales dashboard. But it's nice to have this quick access to data in here. We've spoken about that new interactions tab. And then there's some useful links from Zoho as well. Now, we still don't have a definitive release date on this. Zoho have basically said they're going to release in sort of stages. They're giving more and more people access as we go. So I'm expecting this, I don't know, maybe towards the end of the year, maybe beginning of next year. But I think it's a really exciting step forward. And I think the CRM needed a bit of a refresh. It was looking a little bit dated in places, and I think this new interface, although I've got a couple of niggles with it, I think it looks a lot more modern, and I think this is definitely the right direction for Zoho to go. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you enjoyed sort of seeing some of what the CRM is going to look like. If you have any questions or if you want me to try anything out and come back to you with any thoughts and feedback, just let me know. Until next week, I will speak to you then.